market today was nuts. I was looking for your reaction to just the incredible goalie carousel that we saw in the last 24 hours.
Well, I think, every team's got different needs, and it just depends on their situations. And you throw in the expansion draft with it, with probably some teams losing goalies, so it changed the whole market.
Next, we'll go to Mike Heika. Mike?
Hey, Jim, I'll follow on that one. How do you sort out 4 goalies? Is this something that will go into camp? Is this something that has to do with Ben Bishop's health? How do you work this out?
Well, the biggest thing, I guess, is Ben Bishop's health. Ben, there's still no clear resolution to his health. He continues rehab, but there is no clear, as far as his injury, we don't know, when he's going to play, if he plays. And so we decided we had to make a decision. He's still rehabbing. His plan is still to be ready sometime during the season. We don't know when that'll be. So we just thought it's too much of a risk to take a chance counting on him into the lineup right now. And all of a sudden you get another injury, now you're in trouble. So, we go through this expansion draft, we go through some buyouts, and also the next thing we see that Braden Holtby is available, and we sat down, analyzed things, and we just thought it was a good chance to add to our goalie depth. And then as you mentioned, we'll let things see how they transpire through training camp, who's healthy, who's not, and then we'll make those decisions based on that.
Our next question is from Saad Youssef. Saad?
Hey, Jim, just to follow up on that, even with Ben Bishop's health, you had Jake and Anton. So with Jake and Anton still there, why did you decide to still go after Braden?
Well, as I mentioned, there's an opportunity. You're always worried about your depth, and we're one injury away with 3 goalies to being in trouble. So, and we also have the option that Jake Ottinger does not require waivers. So it gives us a chance to add to our depth, and we'll assess that as we move forward and see what opportunities present themselves.
Next, we'll go to Matt DeFranks. Matt?
Jim, how do you view Braden's last 2 seasons that haven't been up to his standard previously? And with Bishop, do you anticipate him being on LTIR?
Yeah, with Ben, that's what we'll monitor once we get closer to the start of the season. That's when we can determine LTI. So we'll determine that then. And then as far as Braden, Braden's the first one, I think, to admit that he hasn't been himself the last 2 years, but his resume is very good. He's won Stanley Cups. He's been one of the top level goalies in the league. And when you start measuring the plus and minuses, we just thought it's a good opportunity to bring a goalie in. We play a very tight game for goaltending, and let's see if he can be a number 1 goalie for us as we move forward.
Next, we'll go to Sean Shapiro. Sean?
Hey, Jim. The moves with Bish between the expansion draft and this, outside assumption, is it fair to some of the outside assumption that not only might he not play this year, that he may not play again? Like, is this career threatening what he's dealing with? And on the flip side, Greg opened up with the question about the goalie carousel. You guys have a surplus where everyone else is looking right now. Are you looking to make another move with your surplus?
Well, as I mentioned with Ben, his medical status is it's really unknown. He's in the rehab phase, and we're just going to have to monitor that as we move forward. Do we get to training camp and he feels like he's ready to go? Do we get to training camp, or do we get partway into his rehab and his time frame has changed? That's the unknown, and there is no definite time frame on injury like this. Is he going to be ready to go? He may be. He may not be able to, and that's why we had to make sure we covered ourselves with that. And as far as the carousel, the goalie carousel, we'll sit down and assess that. We'll see where we're at, see what our situation is, evaluate, as we mentioned, Ben Bishop's situation, and we'll just kind of monitor that and see where we're sitting right now. It's been a busy day, everybody. I think we're going to sit back, analyze where we're at, and make decisions as we move forward.
Our next question is from Mike Heika. Mike?
What do you like about Ryan Suter, and how do you see him fitting into your defensive group?
Well, Ryan Suter's been one of the top defensemen in the NHL for many years. That's a great veteran, got a great presence. He's a heavy minute cruncher. He's one of those guys. He reminds me a lot of Chris Chelios when I was in Detroit. One of those guys. He doesn't seem to age. He's the type of player that can be out on a minute and a half shift, come back to the bench, and in 10 seconds the coach can tap him on the shoulder. He's ready to go again. He's one of those guys. He's a heavy body. He's got iron lungs, and he's a great skater. And when we lost Oleksiak, that was a big hole to fill. And we were fortunate to be able to find a player of Ryan's caliber. Unfortunately, he got bought out, but that decision was an opportunity for us. And in the end, it worked out well. Ryan wanted to come to Dallas. He likes the fit. He likes where our team's at. He likes the opportunity. Thought it was a good fit. He's going to play with John Klingberg or Miro Heiskanen, and that really intrigued him. And so it worked out well for us.
Next, we'll go to Saad Youssef. Saad?
Hey, Jim, with Ryan, how did that contract kind of come together? Was the term something that he brought to the table, and then the AAV, were you comfortable going $3.5 million on that term for a 36-year-old?
Well, they all go hand in hand. You can do a high AV on a short-term contract, but that's going to affect your cap. We're in a flat cap, and if you go too high, it doesn't fit. So you have to find that balance. What's the AIV that the team's happy with? What's the AIV the player's happy with? And then what's the term? And in the end, we thought this was the best term in AIV for us. Once again, we're comfortable with Ryan at his age, how he plays, the minutes he's been playing. There's really been no decrease in his play over the last, we've been watching him closely. And I get back to, he's one of those, he's been an all-star, he's a marquee player, and we think he's got 4 years left in him, and can be a big part of our team.
Our next question is from Matt DeFranks. Matt?
On Ryan, does his contract have a no move clause? And additionally, he was obviously your big splash today. Why did you feel like prioritizing defensemen was more important than acquiring scoring?
He does have a no move clause in it. That was important for him. He's going to move his family. The other thing is Ryan had a lot of opportunity to go to other teams. There was many teams after him, and he was going to come to our team. He was moving his family, wanted to commit to it, and that's part of the negotiation process and something that he's earned. So we're very comfortable with that. And then why we prioritized the defenseman? Well, we lost Jamie Oleksiak. That was a big hole. He's one of our top 4 defensemen, and once again, this was an opportunity to replace that. It's important to fill that void. If you're going to have success in this league, you have to have a good top 4, and we really feel that this top 4 is as good as anybody in the league, and that's what excites us.
Next, we'll go back to Mike Heika. Mike?
Everybody talks about philosophically offense versus defense, goal scoring, yada, yada, yada. You guys, I think, are 6th, 2nd, 2nd, and 7th in goals against average in the past 4 years. It seems like that's really important. And it seems like today was a statement about, you want to maintain that level of goals against average going forward.
Well, if you're going to win this league consistently and win in the playoffs, you have to be good at goals against. Now, there is a fine balance, goal scoring, goals against, we know that. But you have to be a top level team in goals against if you're going to have success. And history and the stats show that. And so it's important to, you have to have a certain structure to be successful. You have to play the right way. You have to have good goaltending if you're going to have success. And that's no secret to anybody. So we wanted to make sure that we filled in those right positions. And with free agency and the way things unfolded the last few days, this afforded us that opportunity. And I get back to it's been a different year. You throw in the expansion draft, and we lost a key member of our team, Jamie Oleksiak. We wanted him back, and good for him. He got a great contract and opportunity. It's great for him, but it was a big hole for us. So we knew we had to fill that, and that's how things transpired today.
Next, we'll go to Sean Shapiro. Sean?
Hey, Jim, one national, one local for you. First, just as far as it's been kind of I think it's been there's been a week now since the expansion draft. What have you noticed about kind of lessons learned looking around the league, just as how things played out 4 years now as opposed to 4 years ago? And then on a local level, I just wanted to ask you, just since Stephen John's retirement and obviously his initiative, I wonder if you've spoken to Stephen at all and reached out to him or anything with what he's been doing.
Yeah, I'll start with Stephen first. We've missed each other. I've been trying to communicate. He's been on the road doing lots, but we've kept in touch with him. I've talked to his agent quite a bit, and so we've kept in touch with Stephen. I know our staff has been in touch with him. We're just so happy that he's found something in his life that is very satisfying, and he's doing a lot to change other people's lives, and that's the most important thing. Stephen's a great young man. He was a big part of our team, and he's a big loss for our team. We're talking today about filling in voids on defense and that. And you talk about Stephen John's 6'4" and 235 pounds who can skate and shoot a puck. That's a marquee player. We lost him. We lost Jamie Alexiak. Those are two twin towers that we've lost, and not easy to replace. So we miss him, but he's in. I'm glad to see he's in a good place in his life. We've had many conversations over the years, gone through some great times and some tough times. But I'm happy that he has found an initiative that he's taken charge with, and the impact he's going to have on people's lives. As far as the expansion draft, lessons learned, I don't know if there's any lessons to learn, but it was interesting. It really affected the free agency, I think, today. When you look at it, the direction that Seattle went, they ended up, they went a little different route, signing some free agents early on. So they're, Jamie Alexiak on our end, Giordano in Calgary. They signed Larson from Edmonton. They ended up taking 5 or 6 defensemen out of the market, which really affected the free agent market. And they did the same thing with the goalie market. And we've added a team. That's another 30 jobs in the NHL. And that created a tighter market. And I think you saw that today. There was not a surplus of defensemen. It was a tough market. And that's why we were fortunate when we got be able to have Ryan Suter come on board and him to become a Dallas Star, because if you look at today's what took place with the back end, the defense, it's hard to find, and there was a high price to pay for that position.
Next, we'll go to Matt DeFranks. Matt?
Jim, how do you guys look at this year for Jake Ottinger? Is it a developmental year where you want him playing as much as possible? Or is it one where if he's a backup in the NHL, that's what you guys want there?
Well, I want Jake Ottinger to come in and be the best he can and to push us to make hard decisions. That's what we're looking for. Our goal here is to win, and whoever gives us the best chance to win will play. And saying that, I don't want Jake Ottinger, if he's in a situation where he's only playing one game out of every 10, 12, 15 games, we'll have to reassess that. So we're fortunate. He doesn't require waivers. He has to play, but my message to Jake Ottinger right now is come in and try to become the number one goalie of the Dallas Stars. That's what we want, and that's what he wants.
Next, we'll go to Saad Youssef. Saad?
Hey, Jim, kind of piggybacking off of that question, but as it stands right now, where is your confidence with Jake Ottinger, and also where is your confidence with Anton Khudobin?
Well, my confidence is high with both players, both goalies. Jake Ottinger had a great season for us. Came in expectations, we didn't know what to expect. Due to the injury to Bishop, the COVID situation, did a remarkable job. It was we didn't know whether he was just going to be part of the taxi squad, how much he was going to play, and he came in and because of Ben's injury, did a great job. So we're very happy with where he's at. He represented the U.S. at the World Championships, got in 3 or 4 games there. So we're very happy. He's in a great spot in his career. He's on pace. His development's probably ahead of schedule. We know we've got a number one goalie for many years down the road, and we just want to make sure we handle him in the right direction. Anton Khudobin, we're very, it's amazing how all of a sudden there's questions on Anton Khudobin. He takes us to the Stanley Cup Finals, and all of a sudden now there seems to be question marks on him. So I'm very confident in Anton Khudobin's capabilities, and we look forward to him doing the same thing, coming in, and I want somebody to grab that number one position in net, and then we'll make decisions from there.
Next, we'll go back to Mike Heika. Mike?
What does Luke Glendenning bring, first of all? And then you guys could have, I think, 5 of the top 10 faceoff guys in the league. I think Tyler's at 58, Luke's at 60. I think Radek was 55. Pavelski's usually 55, 56. How important is that?
Well, it's very important. The other part of the expansion draft is we lost Jason Dickinson. Jason's a big part of our team. He's a guy we drafted, developed, and he was just starting to come into his own. But unfortunately, because of protection problems, we had to move him or lose him. And so we ended up trading him and got something for him. And that was a big void in our team. It's important to have 4 lines in today's NHL with the schedules and how intense the games are. And Luke fills in that void. When we found out we could get Luke, that filled a big, major hole for us. And Luke he's a consummate pro. He plays the game the right way, plays it both ways. He plays hard. You talked about the face-off. He's one of the marquee face-off men in the league. I think he's 60%. I think he's in the top 2 or 3, I believe. But he's one of the top centers. He's a great penalty killer. He plays physical and high in character. I was fortunate. I was in Detroit when we signed him. He was a captain of the Michigan Wolverines. We signed him, got him down to Grand Rapids, and became one of the leaders down there. And now he's in the NHL. So we're fortunate to have a player of that caliber and of that character that we could fill this void that Jason Dickinson left us.
All right, we'll take just a few more here for Jim, starting with Owen Newkirk. Owen?
Hey, Jim, I wanted to ask you about the other 2 defensemen that you guys announced officially today, and Alex Petrovic and Andreas Borgman. I've seen Petrovic when he came up through the San Antonio Rampage, but don't know a lot about Borgman other than his time with the Marlies. What did you see about those 2 guys, and do you feel like that gives you a lot of organizational depth on the blue line?
Yeah, you talked about depth, and I think that's something. If you go to my year-end Zoom call that we did end of the year last year, that's the one thing I talked about. I think it's the one thing that caught up to us. Once we started to get injuries, we didn't have the depth, and we wanted to address this year in free agency. Petrovic, big, heavy body, plays physical, brings an element, a physicality element, plays hard, real steady defensively. So he adds good depth for us, brings us a different element. We don't have a lot in the organization on the back end, so we're excited about him. And Borgman, he's got great skills, real good skater, moves the puck well. He played for Tampa Bay, played a couple of games against us, actually. We got a good chance to see him against us when Tampa Bay was in town here, actually played American Airlines Center. Thought he played very well. So another guy that's just knocking on the door and looking for opportunity, and we just know it adds to our depth as we move forward.
Next, we'll go to Matt DeFranks. Matt?
You mentioned the depth on defense. Do you feel like you have that depth up front to withstand injuries and have enough scoring?
Yes, with the additions we've made, and we're still not finished. I think there'll be some other additions moving along as we go here. But when you look at where our team sits today, and then with the young kids that are knocking on the door, we've got some great young kids knocking on the door. You talked about Damiani, HL Rookie of the Year. Ty Delandry got his feet wet last year. Masherin, Camano, Rhett Gardner. And then we've got some young players coming over from Europe. We got Karlstrom coming over. We got Peterson coming over. So we've got some good young kids coming over. Now you don't know, do some of those kids, do they come over right away? Does it take them? Is it 10 games, 20 games to get used to playing in the American Hockey League and pro hockey? Or are they going to be like Riley Damiani, who stepped in from day one down the American League out of junior and end up being one of the top 10 scorers? So we're happy with our depth. We're still looking to add. We still got room to add some depth. We'll look at that. We'll sit down, see what's left from today's signings, and move forward from there. But we are satisfied with our depth right now up front.
Last question is from Saad Youssef. Saad?
Hey, Jim, kind of a specific question and then a big picture one as well. Just obviously there's, domino effects to a lot of things. And so when you look at signing Ryan for 4 years, you just signed Miro, you have Essa now. Where does this leave John Klingberg? Is this still a active situation for you guys over the next year?
Very active. I'm actually negotiating with John right now. We're going through the process of negotiating an extension for him. It's a process. We'll go through it. But John Klingberg's been a big part of our team from day one since he came over here, and we think he's a big part of our core. So our plan is to get him signed. I don't know when that's going to be. That's part of the process we go through. But we think John's. I talk about our top four defense. I think it's as good as anybody's defense in the league. And it's because of John Klingberg. He's a big part of that. And those are hard players to find. So our objective is to get him signed and him to be a big part of our team moving forward.
And then just the big picture going into this year, obviously contract year for Bones, Radulov, Pavelski, right now John Klingberg. How big is this season for you guys as an organization?
Well, I don't know if you say every season is big. Our goal is to win. Every season is big. To say one season is bigger than the other, I don't think that's a proper way to word it. It's every year is big. We're set up. We think we're in a good position. I like where our team is at right now. We got good depth. We've got a good mix of veterans and younger players. You're talking about Rupe, Hintz, Robertson, Gurianov. These guys are as good as anybody in the league. So they're just starting to get their feet wet. And then you add in the veterans that we have, and then you add in our back end. We think we're in a good position. But the other thing that excites me is, as I talked about with the depth, we've got some great young kids coming up. And we just went through an entry draft where we had a great entry draft. Our goal is for this franchise to get to a position where you're consistently getting in the playoffs. And as I've talked in the past, get in the playoffs, you got a chance to win every year. It's wide open. That's how tight our league is getting now. It's the parity is set in. We've just had a flat cap. We've gone through expansion, and I've never seen so much player movement before. And so the league's going to tighten up even more.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thank you, everybody.